Andrew Tate did not rise because he was misunderstood. He rose because modern systems reward attention, polarization, and certainty delivered at speed. This video explores the darker structural truth behind Andrew Tate's rise. Not the headlines, not the outrage, but the mechanisms that amplified him, the incentives that protected him, and the psychological patterns that made his message spread faster than criticism. This is not a character study. It's a system analysis. By the end, it becomes clear why removing one figure does not remove the phenomenon, and why similar figures will continue to emerge as long as the same conditions exist. Andrew Tate did not emerge in isolation. He emerged inside an environment already optimized for amplification. Social platforms reward engagement above accuracy, confidence above nuance, and certainty above reflection. These incentives existed long before any individual entered the frame. Modern attention systems prioritize speed. Messages that are simple, absolute, and emotionally charged travel further than those that require context. Complexity slows sharing. Nuance weakens certainty. Tate's communication style aligned perfectly with this structure. This environment also favors repetition. Familiar phrases repeated across clips and platforms create recognition. Recognition lowers resistance. Over time, familiarity is mistaken for credibility. And the system does not distinguish between truth and confidence. It measures response. Another factor was fragmentation. Audiences were no longer centralized. Algorithms created parallel realities, each reinforcing its own norms. In these spaces, escalation became currency. Moderation reduced reach. Extremes sustained visibility. The result was a landscape where polarizing figures thrived. Criticism amplified exposure. Opposition extended reach. Attempts to suppress content often increased curiosity. This was not a failure of moderation alone. It was an outcome of incentives. Systems reward what they're designed to measure. Engagement was measured. Engagement was rewarded. Tate did not need universal approval. He needed intensity from a subset. That intensity produced velocity. Understanding this reframes the narrative. The question is not why such figures appear. It's why the environment repeatedly produces them. When systems reward attention without correction, amplification becomes inevitable. Individuals change. Incentives do not. One of the most powerful forces behind Tate's rise was certainty, not accuracy, not depth, certainty. Clear, absolute statements travel faster than qualified ones. They reduce cognitive effort. They offer emotional relief. In uncertain environments, certainty feels like stability. Tate's message removed ambiguity. It framed the world in binaries, winners and losers, strength and weakness, control and submission. These frames simplified complex realities into digestible narratives. Accuracy requires patience. Certainty requires confidence. Platforms reward confidence. Audiences under pressure gravitate toward messages that feel decisive. When identity feels unstable, certainty offers structure. It provides rules, even if flawed. Rules reduce anxiety. This is not unique to one figure. Throughout history, certainty has outperformed nuance during periods of disruption. The difference now is scale and speed. Short-form media compresses ideas into slogans. Slogans outperform explanations. Repetition reinforces belief. Over time, confidence substitutes evidence. Criticism often failed because it attacked content rather than structure. Fact-checking slowed momentum. Corrections arrived after attention had already moved. The system rewarded whoever spoke fastest and loudest. Certainty created momentum. Momentum created authority. This does not require truth. It requires alignment with incentive structures. Understanding this explains why rebuttals rarely worked. Accuracy competes poorly against confidence in environments optimized for reaction. The issue was not persuasion alone. It was velocity. Certainty travels at speed. Nuance arrives late, and systems reward whoever arrives first. Andrew Tate's business model did not center on information. It centered on identity. This distinction explains both scale and loyalty. Information can be questioned. Identity is defended. Rather than selling skills alone, the system offered belonging. Membership signaled alignment. Participation reinforced commitment. Over time, identity replaced evaluation. This model is structurally powerful. When people attach belief to self-image, criticism feels personal. Doubt becomes betrayal. Defense strengthens conviction. The monetization followed naturally. Communities created demand. Demand justified products. Products reinforced community narratives. Feedback loops formed. This was not accidental. Identity-based systems outperform transactional ones because they reduce churn. Leaving becomes costly. Exit threatens self-concept. Traditional education markets sell outcomes. Identity markets sell meaning. Meaning sustains engagement longer than results. Revenue followed attention, but loyalty followed identity. This is why attempts to dismantle the message often failed. Attacks strengthened in group cohesion. External pressure confirmed internal narratives. The system rewarded escalation. Stronger claims generated stronger reactions. Reactions generated attention. Attention generated revenue. Again, the pattern mattered more than the person. Identity-based monetization thrives where audiences feel dislocated, uncertain, or overlooked. It provides explanation and belonging simultaneously. This structure did not require universal belief. It required deep belief from a committed minority. That minority carried the system. Attempts to suppress Andrew Tate's visibility often produced the opposite result. Removal increased curiosity. Bans validated narratives. Silence was interpreted as confirmation. This response was predictable. Suppression creates asymmetry. It removes context while preserving intrigue. Audiences assume hidden value. Curiosity fills informational gaps. Platforms operate on discovery. When content is restricted, discussion migrates, clips reappear, commentary multiplies. Attention fragments, but does not disappear. Opposition also played a role. Public condemnation extended reach. Each reaction created new entry points. Algorithms registered engagement, not intent. The system doesn't distinguish between criticism and support. Both fueled visibility. This exposed a deeper issue. Moderation focused on removal rather than incentive correction. Removing individuals without changing reward structures left the system intact. New figures filled the vacuum. The environment remained unchanged. The pattern persisted. This explains why suppression felt ineffective. It treated symptoms rather than causes. As long as certainty, conflict, and identity monetization are rewarded, similar dynamics will reappear. The issue was never singular behavior, it was systemic amplification. Understanding this shifts responsibility, not to the individuals alone, but to the structures that reward escalation. Without incentive change, outcomes repeat. The conditions that produced Andrew Tate did not disappear when attention shifted away from him. They remain embedded in how platforms, audiences, and incentives interact. This is why the pattern continues. Digital systems reward engagement without context. Algorithms optimize for reaction, not resolution. Content that provokes emotion travels faster than content that explains complexity. Immediate response is rewarded. Long-term impact is ignored. Audience psychology reinforces this loop. Periods of economic uncertainty and identity pressure increase demand for certainty. Simple narratives feel stabilizing. Clear hierarchies reduce anxiety. Accuracy becomes secondary. Creators adapt to survive. Those who align with incentives gain reach. Those who resist lose visibility. Escalation becomes normalized, not because it's preferred, but because it performs. Attempts to stop this by removing individuals fail. Suppression treats visibility, not structure. Public condemnation treats morality, not mechanics. Neither changes incentives. As long as attention is monetized and identity is marketable, similar figures will emerge. Language changes, platforms change, the structure remains. Understanding this explains recurrence, shifts focus from personalities to incentives, and clarifies why repetition persists without structural correction over time. The dark truth about Andrew Tate is not unpredictability, it's predictability. His rise followed clear patterns. Attention rewarded certainty. Identity monetized loyalty. Opposition amplified reach. Suppression increased curiosity. Each step aligned with existing incentives. This was not a deviation, it was a demonstration. Focusing solely on individuals obscures the larger mechanism. Remove one figure, another appears. Change names, platforms, or aesthetics, the structure remains. The system rewards whoever understands it fastest. This reframes the conversation. The question's not whether such figures should exist, it's why systems keep producing them. When attention outperforms accountability, outcomes shift. When certainty outpaces accuracy, behavior follows. When identity replaces evaluation, loyalty hardens. These dynamics extend beyond one personality. They apply to media, business, and politics alike. Understanding this is uncomfortable because it removes easy villains. Responsibility diffuses. Solutions become structural, not emotional. The story is not about approval or condemnation. It's about mechanics. Until incentives change, results will repeat. And that is the darker truth most discussions avoid. Andrew Tate's rise was not an accident or even an anomaly. It was the predictable outcome of a system that rewards attention, certainty, and identity over nuance, accuracy, and accountability. The behavior was amplified because it aligned perfectly with modern incentives. Change the name, and the pattern remains. The figure can disappear. The system does not.